Mr. Moderator, the Honorable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Madam Fatou Kinde, UN Resident Coordinator, UNFPA Country Rep, Madam Dairo Shah, UNFPA Program Analyst, um, Rep ITC, Mr. Babakar Salah, the Rep of WHO, UNDP Deputy Rep, all protocols respectively observed. It's a great pleasure for us to deliver this statement on behalf of the network as a CSO partner in this project, but also by extension on behalf of the other NGBB member organizations who have been playing crucial roles to ensure that sexual and gender-based violence are addressed in the Gambia. The network, UNFPA, and the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare have seen the importance of ensuring that there is a GMIS, which is a Gender Management Information System in the Gambia. This will help to ensure that our laws, our policies, our programs, and most importantly, concrete actions are taken to address sexual and gender-based violence in the Gambia. As a result, a tri-party partnership was formed between the UNFPA as representatives of UN agencies in the Gambia, as well as the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare and the Network Against Gender-Based Violence as representatives of society organizations to ensure that we develop a gender management system that will serve the country. The consultation has started since 2021 when the UN system, the government, under the leadership of the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare and NGB as the lead civil society organization start consultation on how to ensure we have a database system that will ensure that we have national GBV statistics in the Gambia. As a result, in 2022, the UN system decided to mobilize funds to support, in partnership with the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, the network, to hire a consultant to develop the GMIS system in the Gambia. The consultant was hired, and after which we had worked tirelessly with this consultant to ensure the GMIS is in place. However, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare provided the space that will host the DMIS system. And the UN system also provided further funds to ensure that we renovate the space, ensure that we equip, furnish, and also ensure we have volunteers who are working today in this space to realize this dream. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is very important for us to mention people who are behind the scenes to make this report that we are making today possible. And these are the social and case workers in the One Stop Center who are working day and night tirelessly to manage cases, to record data in the GMIS system to ensure that we have the reported cases. But I will also mention some of the civil society organizations in the Gambia, such as the Paradise Foundation, Will, Team Young Women Girls Agenda, and also Peace of Mind, who have been working to ensure that they support survivors, but not only that, but refer cases to the center so that the cases can be recorded. We also have our volunteers in our communities who are um, helping in ensure that cases at the community level are reported through the 199 helpline or through the service providers to reach the GMIS center. So these are our frontliners, and these people are those who are working tirelessly to ensure that we realize this day to day. So we want to recognize all of them. We as well want to recognize some of those staff from the UN system, from government, as well as from the Network Against Gender-Based Violence, who made the GMIS possible. namely Joy Michael from UNFPA, Fatima Sonko, and Ramu Sonko. We would also mention the Honorable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Mr. Kajali Sonko, and the Director of Gender and Women Empowerment, Mrs. Marian Java, who have worked with the network, provided technical support, provided moral support, provided financial support to ensure that we realize the GMIS, which is a very important national tool to ensure that we have data that will help us in making programs that will address sexual and gender-based violence. I will not stop by mentioning also the staffs of the network against gender-based violence who have been working also tirelessly, namely Joanna Mendy, the project officer, Babu Karubai, and also our finance team have been working very tirelessly to ensure that these things are realized. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is very important for us to know that having the GMIS is a national endeavor that both government, civil society, and the UN system have invested to ensure that we have this system in place. It will support our programs, it will support our policies, but most importantly, it will ensure that we are able to provide quality and also realistic, accessible service to survivors. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I stop, I would like to also recognize the survivors, those brave women and girls who decided to report their cases despite the discrimination, the stigma, the mistrust, and also the harassment that they are receiving from communities and other people. They have to, give away all those issues to ensure that they report cases in a situation where they face lot of problems. We also have work when we are urging the media houses to ensure that they disseminate the information from the GMIS, especially the 199 helpline, so that people in communities and everywhere across the country knows about the system, knows about the helpline, and are able to report cases whenever they are in trouble. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Paulo. So thank you for recognizing the bravery of the survivors. It takes a lot of incredible courage to come out and report GBV cases, especially in a society where we live in. Thank you also for recognizing the excellent work of not only the people who work here, but also the social workers who are providing support across the country, and also to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. Thank you so much. I will just introduce now the Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, a very passionate and strong gender champion to deliver the opening statement. Well, welcome very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. T, who was also as the resident coordinator at interim, UNICEF rep at interim, UNFPA rep, Madam Leru Sar, our friend and sister, Mr. Falu Sow, the national coordinator of the network against gender-based violence, the deputy representative of UNDP, representative from the Peace Building Fund, UNICEF rep, representative of ITC, deputy rep of UNDP, and all staff of UN system here present. Media, all protocols duly and respectfully observed. I am indeed honored to partake in this first briefing of the Gender Management Information System and Platform and the free call center for reporting and management of sexual and gender-based violence cases. Today is very special and an important day for the women and girls of the Gambia as we are further creating awareness for the existence of this very important system and platform for reporting of cases of sexual and gender-based violence. As you may be aware, sexual and gender-based violence have been criminalized in the Gambia since November 2013 by reporting the cases as they happen. Right steps can be taken to support the victims, while the necessary actions will be taken to deal with the perpetrators. The chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, the recording of the cases is equally critical for our programming and planning. The Gender Management Information System, GMI Center, is a joint effort of UNFPA, UNDP, UNICEF, ITC, the level against gender-based violence, with the collaboration of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. To be operational in 2023, the center is intended to function 24 hours daily, and in fact it does, to ensure that people are attended to whenever they reach out. Because GMIS in the Gambia, I think we started way back in 2012 when I was with UNFPA. And we trained a lot of people on the use of GMIS. It's now that it's been further upgraded to record cases of sexual and gender-based violence. I want to recall the work of the police in this whole process, even though they're not present here today. I remember, as program of the agenda at UNFPA then, we worked closely with the police. Because in the Gambia at that time, before that time, people don't report cases of gender-based violence to the police because they fear that when they go to the police, they consider it as personal family matter, not warranting police intervention. So what we did then was we engaged the police from the highest level. We were able to get green light from the police. Then we introduced gender and gender-based violence to the curriculum of the police training academy in Yedo. Because at that time, we have child welfare units at the police stations and also at the police headquarters. So we revised that to become the gender and child welfare units of the police. And for the police officers in the field, we went and trained so many of them, thousands and thousands of them. And I remember during the training of the trainers and the police officers, they themselves said we should support them to organize live full important discussions because people have lost hope in them. So if they organize those programs, you can call them and they can feel incumbent again. And I think that was built. Because through that process, we saw people reporting cases again at the police stations, and that wasn't the case before. Even though they will go back and receive the cases and say, okay, they are forgiven. But the mere fact that they are reporting means we were making progress. And the police never left them alone. When they report a case and they could withdraw the cases, the police will follow them in their home, to their homes and the communities and do a thorough sensitization. So they begin to know what is gender-based violence and how it can be prevented. And police didn't only stop at that, but they also educated them about the Domestic Violence Act and Sexual Offences Act, which were all enacted in November of 2013. So as a result, gender-based violence has now become a household word. Before it was taboo to talk about it. So open this center came at a time when a lot of work has actually been done. So because of all of that work, that's why this center is succeeding. People are now comfortable to report. So when they report, they know actually being taken. So that work is going to continue. We're going to continue working with the police. And I remember when we started working with the police, the immigration came, the army came, they all wanted us and prisons to do the same that we have done for the police, but it's very expensive. It's very, very expensive. And so this is the reason why in the new policy of the Ministry of Defense, we are maintaining gender and we are going to do exactly what we need to do with the police, with the army, and it should continue with all other uniform officers. And I've just presented the gender mainstream strategy paper in cabinet, and members made some comments. It has been improved upon. Next week, I'm presenting the improved version, and that in that also we're going to do something similar in all the uniforms the army, the police, immigration, prisons. We are going to work very closely with them to make sure that we institutionalize gender and gender-based violence so that they take action as required. A few days ago, three women have been in prison. Okay, I think they have been prosecuted. They either pay a fine or go to prison. I think that's a step in the right direction. For a very long time, we have been waiting to hear such cases. Then we have been reporting on what we are doing in gender-based violence and also in FDM. But this is the first time we'll be reporting such cases. And I think, I said earlier, we have run out of work to prevent gender and gender-based violence and FDM. But we need to prosecute one person. If we do, we teach a lesson to all, and people will know that we are serious. So by prosecuting these three women for being victims of, for putting our girls, I think we are moving in the right direction. And in the case of gender-based violence also, one of the first forms of gender-based violence also, we are not going to relent. Work is going to continue until that day when we see that no such case is reported in Gambia. I say no such case is reported, by that I mean it doesn't happen at all. I'm not saying that it happens and they sweep it under the carpet. No. We'll only stop if there is no gender-based violence in the Gambia. The DMI Center was set up with the aim of building a strong evidence base on GBV, promote a safe, confidential, and convenient way for the reporting of gender-based violence cases, promote the delivery of quality services in line with global standards and GBV guidelines and principles, and strengthen referrals in a timely and most appropriate manner. I want to pause here and just mention that because we are taking this issue so seriously, at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, under the Director of Gender Equality and Women's Empowerment, we have a whole unit on sexual and gender-based violence. The work of that unit goes to only on issues of sexual and gender-based violence and sensitize people, create awareness, do training, and work closely with this center to make sure that anybody who is found wanting will be dealt with according to the law. EMI Center has two major components. EMI's platform, which is a digital system with similar features like the Global Promio GBV MIS Plus system, and the call center, which is a 24-hour hotline 199. I remember in 2021, was it? We launched the 199 report from UNICEF and UNFPA. So I want to thank UNICEF for being with us all the way through. This is indeed a great improvement after a series of efforts by government to enact the Sexual Offences Act 2013, Domestic Violence Act 2013, Women's Amendment Act 2015, and the Children's Amendment Act of 2016, as well as the Literacy Act of 2020. We are with the conviction that the center will serve as a catalyst for providing one-stop services for victims of gender-based violence, namely mental and psychological support, including legal aid when necessary. Next to this hot, we have a shelter for sexual victims of gender-based violence, and I remember we provide a lot of cases here, and we provide accommodation to victims. But sadly, before we prosecute, victims came to say they're withdrawing the cases. Well, we are not happy that we couldn't prosecute the cases, but we're also happy that at least now people know there's a safe haven somewhere. When you are violated, there's somewhere that you can go. Even though the cases are withdrawn, as I mentioned earlier, the investigators are seriously warned, and I have no doubt that they will not do it again. Because when next they do it, there's no like withdrawing the case. Even when the victim wants to withdraw the case, we as government will not withdraw the case, we pursue it for prosecution as well examples to all of the Gambians. The chairperson, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, gender-based violence is a socially challenging problem with infrastructural assistance deficits to address it. First issue of the problem is service availability for the survivors. On one hand, there is limited delivery of specific case services in most regions, while on the other hand, most survivors have challenges in accessing the limited support around them. We are working with the UN system to make sure that this is really functional out here in the Greater Banjul area. We are looking for funding elsewhere to make sure that we have similar services across the regions, because not everybody can come over here for services. Yes, the hotline you can call free, or through the system you send a message so we get the information. But another important thing is to have access to the victim, as well as have access to the perpetrator. And I think we can only have that done if we disseminate what we have here in the rural areas. It's important. This is a pilot. And in programming, for example, anything that is a new initiative, it's best to pilot. And based on lessons learned, we can replicate in other regions. From lessons learned in this, we are definitely going to replicate in other regions in the Gambia, funding from other donors who are ready to provide these services to us. In the same vein, the limited service providers are not easily identified and relied on to offer these services. Service providers have few avenues to reach survivors and or interact with the GBV programs. For that reason, database surveillance programs often function in silos, with the program losing the harnessing power to deliver where needed. Beyond service accessibility, it is important that GBV processes remain confidential, considering its social ramifications, especially in closed or semi-closed societies. Therefore, ease of confidential reporting really impacts the coming out of survivors. For those who are reporting, I want to assure you that this will be highly confidential. All you need from you is just report. We don't even want to know who you are, but send the information and let us know where we can find the survivor and also the perpetrator. So those who are reporting, you need not fear that you will be disclosed. Call the numbers. Tell us where the case has taken place. Let us know where we can move the quick response to save the survivor and take action against the perpetrator. Again, here I want to thank you sir, very much for providing us with two vehicles which are stationed here to support rapid response so that we can quickly rescue the survivors and move now towards taking action against the perpetrator. The GMI Center is an information monitoring center where GBV information is reported, monitored, processed, analyzed, and stored. The internet purpose of the center is to build a strong evidence base on GBV in the Gambia by promoting the reporting of GBV cases, ensuring the proper management of GBV survivor information in accordance with the guiding principles, facilitating the timely delivery of services to survivors, monitor service delivery by stakeholders in accordance with GBV standards, promote and monitor referrals in an organized way, strengthen cooperation among GBV stakeholders to improve provision of services to survivors in the country. GMI Center presents a system whereby cases of GBV can be reported physically in person or electronically via a hotline or SMS in all regions of the country, and service delivery for survivors of reported cases monitored and tracked from the center. The center will serve as a system-focused platform, that is the DMI's platform, aids the digital reporting of GBV cases through an anonymous website. Here, cases can be reported by the survivor or any other person at any time and from anywhere within the Gambia. The platform is also used to supervise response services provided by the case workers at the one-step centers and monitor the progress of referrals, meaning the system performs effectively through a multi-sectoral process and collaboration with all stakeholders here present. The chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, most importantly, the call center presents the 19 helpline, which can be accessed by the survivor or anyone at any point in time from any location within the Gambia. This helpline offers a safe and confidential option for survivors and individuals who are vulnerable to voice out violence and abuse as well as provide them with physical, psychosocial first aid, psychosocial support, and useful information on access to safety, medical care, and justice. In order to meet the urgent needs of survivors, services like psychosocial support, health, safe shelter, safe shelter, and legal services have been made available. Lots of centers have been set up in all the regions of the Gambia of services and facilitate referrals to other services required by the survivor. Although in those centers, we don't provide accommodation. All what we provide is just the services, health services, uh, legal services, and other sorts of services, but no accommodation. The only place with accommodation is here at our shelter in Bakote. That's the reason why we are working with other partners to see how we can establish similar shelters in all the regions across the country. Through the GMS platform, service delivery is monitored on a day-to-day basis. Challenges in service delivery are easily identified and handled to ensure the survivors get all their needs met. The establishment of GMI system and the call center is a manifestation of the commitment of the government of the Gambia and the UN system in the Gambia in addressing issues of sexual and gender-based violence. Similarly, this shows the importance of partnership and collaboration. Together, we will continue to come up with innovative ideas for the expansion of the services throughout the Gambia. We will continue to have collective actions to sensitize the population about the GMI's anonymous reporting platform and the 199 hotline. Its purpose, how it can be accessed, who can access the platform, and the importance of timely reporting of GBV cases for immediate response. We will continue to have a strong collaboration between GBV actors, especially those directly dealing with the survivors on a day-to-day basis, to strengthen links with all partners, facilitate the recordings of all GBV data on the platform. We will develop more GBV programs targeting adolescents as they are the most affected category. We will also develop child-friendly GBV programs to educate the age groups 5 to 9 years on GBV, how to identify violations, and how to report cases if violated. And in here, there is also need for us to work very closely with the Killers Parliament. I don't think they're represented here. They had their first sitting, it's the second Killers Parliament, fully funded by UNICEF, and they had their first sitting 2 days ago, where I was present, and also present was the Deputy UN UNICEF rep, First Lady, and the Minister of Business Sports. We will continue to educate women with disability on GBV risk surrounding them, how to identify and report violations, and develop more disability-friendly ways to facilitate their access to GBV services. Here, I want to remind you that we have just presented GBV policy in Parliament in Cabinet 2 weeks ago. There are few comments, and the comments have already been incorporated, and now we will go for reporting. And one of the areas in that policy, one of the thematic areas in that policy is preventing GBV, preventing people with disability from gender-based violence. Finally, we will continue to have a collective action to educate parents and committee members on sexual and gender-based violence perpetrated on girls between 0 to 4 years and 5 to 9 years, as it is on the increase since January. They should be educated on ways to identify when a child has been violated, where children are most likely to be violated, their role in preventing gender-based violence among these age categories, and the importance of timely reporting of cases faced by children. That note, I would thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare. Thank you for the very detailed breakdown, history, and analysis of what the Gender Management Information System is, and also the excellent work being done by your ministry and the government in general to not only prevent gender-based violence, but to also support survivors of gender-based violence. I just want to also recognize the presence of the Director of Gender at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Miriam Javan, and the UNICEF Deputy Representative, Mr. Arman Nyore. At this point, we'll invite the UNFPA Program Analyst for Gender and GBV, Ramos Sonko, to give us a breakdown of the data and statistics from the GMI.
Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues. Good afternoon, members of the High Table. Thank you, the media house, all of you present today. Despite the unfriendly weather, you guys were able to come and witness and raise this occasion, and we are very grateful for having you around. Because without the data and the evidence and the dissemination, which you guys play a huge role, our work would not be out there for people to know what we are doing, and also to tell the survivors that services are available and it can be accessible to everywhere in the Gambia. The all right, thank you. So, sorry about that. My role here would not be a very long one because all the previous speakers have already mentioned what I wanted to say. But as you can see in your folders, you have this flip leaflet, which gives you the breakdown of all the GBV cases that have happened since the operationalization of the GMIS in January. As you can see, in January to date, July, we have received about 310 survivors through the one-stop centers and the GMIS center. I would just like to tell you about how the GMI center is linked to the one-stop center and the call center, the 199, so that you would know how all the interlinkages of all of these things happen. When a survivor calls the 199, immediately it refers to you are being referred to the call center, whereby a GBV case, whereby a case worker working at the GMIS center will pick up your case. Once the case has been picked up, you will be giving a personal psychosocial source aid by the caseworker at the GMIS center. Please bear in mind that all of them have been trained on remote GBV case management and psychosocial source aid. Once the psychosocial source aid is given, you've been assessed, the caseworker assess your situation and get your file and the information that they derive from the survivor narrating their story. They then use the GBV referral pathway, which is a national pathway linking all the services across the country in all the various one-stop centers and the psychosocial force aid and psychosocial support brigade. So if you're calling from Birkama or you're calling anywhere in the Gambia, you will be linked to the nearest GBV one-stop centers in your community, and then the case worker in the GMIS that pick up your case and give you a case number. He will immediately alert the case worker at the one-stop center in Basse Birkama, depending on where you're calling from, and then you'll be referred to that center and you'll be given the appropriate services. The services being offered at the one-stop center varies. You can be given the medical support, the psychosocial support, the shelter and safety if you need it, and also the legal support. But it all depends on the guiding principle of the survivor. We need to abide by that. And if the survivor doesn't want to access any services, they also have a right not to go further. So based on the GBV case management, the course worker is being ascertained and guide the survivor on whatever he or she wants to get the services. So once the case has been logged in the GMIS center, the survivor will just walk straight to the one-stop center, and then the case worker will pick up the case, whereby all the necessary information will be given to the case worker, and then that's where you start your case action planning and your case implementation. Then the GMIS center manager follows up the case to where the case has been closed. If the case is not being closed, the GMIS center manager has a role to follow up on the case. Why has the case not been closed? What are the needs of the survivor? If there's any evidence they need to need to open the case to reassess the survivor, then that has to go also to another route. But then that's how the GMIS center is linked to the 199 and the one-stop center. The beauty about this GMI, the 199, is that it's disability friendly. The previous call center we had, it was not disability friendly, and it really felt to us, and it really broke my heart personally when I read an article in 2020 where it was posted in June, the Gambia Federation for Disabled saying that they are not considered in the previous the other helpline that we had because they can't access the number, especially when you're hard of hearing. So when we were developing this GMIS center, the first thing that clicked our minds was how can we be inclusive in this? So we have a future whereby you can text the 199 and then you can be offered the service that it is. So that's the unique beauty about this 199 and the GMIS center. You can text and you can report online anonymously by going through the website. That was something that was missing in the previous line, which is still operational, but it was those are the things that differentiates this 199. So it's an inclusive line where disability friendly, and wherever you are, if you see a case of sexual exploitation and abuse, you can even log online and then report the case, and then the caseworker in the GMI center will pick it up and then refer you to the necessary service that you need. That's the basic difference that we have, and I think it's a laudable effort that we do. So the forms of GBV are classified in different ways in the platform. You have the rape, the sexual assault, the IPV, the FGM, the defilement. But you would see that in the data we have 717 people of rape survivors, which is very alarming. From January to July, that's a huge number. What will happen from July to December? The number will triple or double or whatsoever. So a lot of noise needs to be done to ensure that survivors know that the services are available. What can we do to ensure that we curtail the number to come down? Because no woman or young girl deserves to be raped and defiled. Also, physical assault is also a high number. The sexual assault and the intimate partner violence too, boyfriends and girlfriends staying together or whatsoever, or husbands and wives. Also, it's part of IPV, which is also on a very alarming rate at 37 people calling to report their cases. The others are quite not much, but then it doesn't mean that we should not neglect it. It's something we should always look out for. If you have a case of FGM, which is about 6 people calling from them, it means that there's something happening behind closed doors and we do not know. So the information and what we do here needs to go out so that people can have confidence in us and report what we are doing so that we can have more people being supported. Because if you're not giving the right service that you need, that's how the mental health effect, and it's detrimental to your health. So the moment a case is reported, you need to act now because GBV cases is life-threatening. And if you don't give the right support to the survivor as soon as possible, the worst can happen to the survivor. It can lead to suicide, it can lead to mental health disorder, it can lead to so many loss of life, it can lead to so many consequences. And one person to die from GBV is quite a number. So it's important we take note of that. But you would see that the age is also, young girls have been raped, and it's the highest number of cases that we've received. From 10 to 14 is the highest number of cases of rape we've seen. And 15 to 17 too, which we have about 37 people. The IPV is 18 years plus, which is about 36 number of people being reported, and 37. But I would like to highlight that wherever areas where the cases have been reported most, and that is within the Greater Banjul area and the Kanifing area. In Greater Banjul area alone, in January to date, we have about 139 people reporting the case. In West Coast region, which is the second, is 96 cases. And the Greater Banjul area includes the one-stop centers in Kanifing, the GBV 199, and the Banjul one-stop center. The West Coast is the Birkama area, the URR 30 and CRR 18. Despite the numbers are low in the region, there could be certain challenges that are deterring them from not reporting. And I would like to highlight that most of the 99.9% of the cases that have been reported through the one-stop centers, all the medical services, the psychosocial support have been provided to these survivors. That's one step ahead because, as the minister was saying in this statement, that previously in the past this was a challenge to offer this kind of support to the survivors. But now gradually, with the GBV programming, things are shifting in a slow pace, but we will get there, inshallah. But then I was very happy when the minister highlighted that we only have one shelter, and this is a challenge. Because if you look at the data on the shelter, we only have 3 people that have been placed in the shelter from January to July. The reason being that we don't have other shelters in the region. And if the survivor needs an immediate stay, we don't have anywhere to place them in the region. So they don't look forward to coming in the Gambia. In the Combos, so they rather stay in the regions that where they are. So that's the challenge that we have. So the time need of having more shelters in the regions is very, very crucial. That will strengthen our programming and help us improve better. Because you can't have a survivor who's in dire need of a short-term stay in Basse, and you can't travel to Combo just for short. That's not feasible, and so they end up withdrawing the case and not coming up, and that's not something we would encourage. If it's a IP, if it is a case of an intimate partner violence and you're living with your abuser, you have to go back to your abuser, and that's a problem for the survivor. Anything can happen to that survivor, so it's something that we really need to consider and do it with utmost urgency. But the high number also of the legal cases that we have that are not receiving continuing is also another thing that's very alarming, because from January to date we had 72 people reporting um, for legal support. But apparently, during the case follow-up, we realized that none of the cases have been pursued at the court. All the 72 cases, none has been, the court has not gone any further. So, and most of the survivors within this 72 number, most of them have withdrawn their case. They don't want to take it any further because they've waited for a very long time and they have not been called for hearing or whatsoever. So that's also a cause for concern, because you will see that without the special courts that we don't have, it is special courts we don't have in the Gambia. And from you report a case that you need a legal support until July or August, you have not had any call from the prosecutor to go further your case. That's the problem. So most of the 72 people that are in this bracket, majority of them have withdrawn their case, and that's the problem. If you don't trust your system, how would you come back again to report your case? If there's no trust in the system, how would you refer a person? Or you can call this number, or you can go to the one-stop center and seek service. But when you go to the one-stop center, the service are not adequate. That's a cause for concern. I think the timely need for the GDV shelter and the timely need for GDV special courts cannot be overemphasized. It's very, very crucial and it's very, very important. Yes. Overall, I'd just like to give the other page where you will see the perpetrators of the GBV cases, the type, all the GBV types that we have in this report. 70% of the GBV cases go into our current partner, which means that spouses living together, which is at the highest rate of 70. All the others, you can see that we have family and neighbors. We have the father, and the case of the father was for the child marriage. I would also like to share that the success that we have been registering since the inception of the GMIS in January, just last week we were able to avoid a case of child marriage, whereby the young survivor called the 199, and then the social worker in the GMIS center picked up the call. The case was in Elara, Cunella. So when the social worker picked up the call, we using the GDP referral pathway that we developed, we were able to identify the gender and child welfare police officer in Cunella around that area. They were very proactive and were able to go to the child, they were able to avert the case by involving the Department of Social Welfare, do a home visit, and then the case was averted. The child was supported, and during engagement with the social worker, she was able to tell us that she wants to go back to school. She was 13 years old, and then they wanted to take her to Guinea-Bissau to marry and all the little things. But with the GMIS Center, the 199, with the immediate and timely response, the case was averted in no time. So you could see the success we can have when all efforts are in place and when all the passion is there and the financial resources is there to ensure the system is strengthened and expanded. So if there was a if there was a GBV shelter within the LRR, the child would have been referred to the GBV shelter. But then there was no GBV shelter, so we had to work with the child to ask her for safety. Where does she feel safe to stay? Because it was no longer safe for her to go back to her guardian, and she was able to identify where she feels safe, and we placed her in that area. But a follow-up is being done, and we know that the child is already in the safe place where she feels that she's comfortable. And then we will try our level best to reintegrate her back to school. The also success we received through the one-stop centers was a case of a trafficking. This was in just a few months ago, where a case of a trafficking was also averted, and this was through the 1992 as well. Luckily, the survivor was brought to the GDV shelter, where she was kept for a very long time. However, we were able to reintegrate her back to somewhere where she feels that she is safe after all the process has been done, and we know the perpetrators and all of that. Luckily, we were a few weeks ago, we met with the survivor, and she's back and currently working in a hair salon, whereby she's making her ends meet. Imagine if there was no GDV shelter. Imagine if there were no 199 to call to have the service. A lot could have happened. And if you can save one person, that person goes with a positive feedback saying that the GDV shelter or the 199 calling them, you can be accessing services. That will go a long way into us having the results that we need. So we are encountering some challenges, but we should not neglect the fact that there are positive feedback coming out from this, and there are positive results coming out from what we are currently doing. But it needs to be strengthened, and there's a timely need for like the shelters, the forensic lab, because evidence is very, very important. If you don't have the medical evidence, prosecuting a DDV, especially a rape case, is a problem. The perpetrator can just go scot-free because if there's no timely report of the case and there's no timely evidence, tangible evidence to prosecute, you can't do that. You can't take the matter to court. Even if you take the matter to court, you can even come back and then the matter is down the waters because there's no evidence. And how can you have that evidence? Is the medical forensic lab, medical and forensic lab. That's the only way you can get the forensic evidence of DDV cases. Even if it goes for a long time, within after the 72 hours, with the evidence that you have, you can, with the forensic lab established, you can have the right support and right data and evidence. So I'm glad that the Honorable Minister is here. Although there is a what I'm discussing is just a brief overview of the cases that we have been seeing here, and but also to advocate for what we are currently doing. If we could expand it more to other regions and consider the fact that these are the things that we need to ensure that we have a proper and a more robust DDV programming in the Gambia. Without further ado, I would just like to say that most of the 100% of the cases that have been reported through the one-stop centers, 99% of them have received the medical support and the psychosocial support. And the beauty about it is that all the social workers working in the one-stop centers have been trained by UNFPA on DDV case management. And other than that, we also trained them on the psychosocial support, whereby all the social workers in the one-stop centers went to a rigorous 5 months training, whereby they were trained by Peace of Mind on how to support or give psychosocial support to survivors. Because if you don't know the nitty-gritties of how to handle DDV case management, you can mess up the whole system. But if you know how to handle case management, or you can't offer psychosocial support in the event that there's no psychologist, you as a case worker, you're being trained, you would know how the little things that can help to support the survivor regain that health, to her great sense of mentality. So that's something that we have been doing, and we've been going very well. So we thank our partner Peace of Mind through NGDV for facilitating this process. Without those partnerships, it would have been very, very difficult for us to be to where we are here today. Their efforts and contribution to having the DDV programming in the Gambia is very, very valuable. Without further ado, I would like to thank you all for your kind attention, and apologies once again. We never planned that it would have come to this rainy day, but everybody is seated. It means that everybody is so engaged in what we are doing, and we really appreciate this effort. We had a plan B of having you inside, but then everybody said that they wanted to stay here, especially the members of the high table. So we are grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ramo. Ramo didn't plan on speaking for more than 5 minutes. This is her passion, so you understand why she stayed longer than she planned. Thank you so much, Ramo, and thank you, everyone. So now, the Minister wants to say something.
Thank you very much, and let the audience know that the PA this year will be establishing special course on gender-based violence. During Ramo's presentation, she mentioned that many times cases are withdrawn. This because the victims wait for too long before cases are pursued. And to prevent that happening any further, we are now working with UNFPA. This year, we are going to establish a special course. We started with some of the regions, and then we progress until we get all the regions covered. And to make the work of the course easy, we are also going to work. We're also working with
Excellent news. Everyone on the high table. Let us know your name and what media house you're coming from, and who you're directing your question.
Thank you very much for this. Thank you very much for this occasion and for inviting Peace of Mind, whom I am representing here today. My name is Sena Budrame. I have a few maybe insights that I want clarification on, and then I can leave it to the media houses. So it's beautiful to generate data and to analyze the data and to have an understanding of this data. But one of my concerns is translation of this data into policy and reforms, but more specifically for translating this data for the local communities, for Gambians to really understand, especially into our local languages. And I feel like you can easily lose data if this is not done. So that is one aspect I want to be paid attention to. And because the minister is here and all of the relevant decision makers regarding the matter of gender-based violence are here, I feel it is important to put this across. The other aspect is regarding mental health and psychosocial support, for which Peace of Mind is really honored to have been part of the implementing partners. The aspect of this is the hat we wear as mental health service providers and as people who give psychosocial and mental health support is that our umbrella covers everyone and we cannot leave even perpetrators behind. And an aspect of this that I would really advocate for is to look at psychosocial support for perpetrators. In no way do we condone gender-based violence or support it, but we know for a fact that there's anecdotal evidence and also research evidence that shows that people who commit, people who gender-based violence is perpetrated against are more likely, over 50% you can say, going to become perpetrators down the line, especially if this was done at a very early age. So providing support for perpetrators is important so that we can curb the issue of gender-based violence. Because if we focus on victims only, which is very crucial and important, yes, we will tackle a lot of the issues, but what will stop a perpetrator from committing again? Because for a very long time we have policies, we have laws, and we have had trying to implement these things, but it hasn't stopped it. And it's still happening in our homes, family members committing against their own family. So how do we try to curb these things? By also including perpetrators into the correction measures to provide them with psychosocial support and mental health support. I think that is very important. Thank you.
We'll just take maybe 3 or 4 questions. We allow the high tables to answer. So.
Here about gender-based violence, and a lot of cases also been reported. What we haven't had is prosecution, and this I think is very important. The lady talked about averting this from happening in the future. I think the best way to address the issue is to prosecute the perpetrators. When it comes to prosecution, we have seen 117 cases of rape. And as I know and understand, rape is a capital offense. And even where the victims want to let go, I think it is important that the government takes steps and measures to ensure that these cases are prosecuted. My question goes to Mr. Saul from the civil society. How does civil society intend to engage government in this issue to ensure that cases of gender-based violence, especially rape cases, which is a capital offense, are prosecuted when they occur? The second question is with regards to the Malagan story. Recently, Malagan published a story of an alleged British pedophile who was accused of abusing 3 children and rape 2. This story, which according to the Malagan story, was fully investigated by the police, was published on August 10th. But to date, not a word has been heard from the Ministry of Children, not the police, nor the Ministry of Justice. Is anything being done about this? This question is to the Minister. And would you kindly say exactly what? The third one is just the last one.
Sorry, can we allow other journalists? Maybe that space will come back to that question. Yes, you can go.
Thank you very much for giving me the chance. My name is Yunus Salio from the Voice newspaper. My question will go to Mr. Fano or Madam Sonko. You've just mentioned in your achievement during the overview, talking about the hard to hear people, how you put them in mind when you were putting up this play. What about the other special needs school? Do you have anything for them, or how do you work with them? I'm talking about people like St. Joseph and others, because these people also, they are open to abuse. They are really vulnerable, because we had a lot of stories of what has happened to some of these students, and in which some of those people dealing with reproductive health education can talk more about. Thank you.
Question for
Either Mr. Fano or Madam Sonko.
that's fine. So we just allow them to.
Go to the police. You got to the GMI center. That's the only time that you can take action. I'm not aware of this Malagan case, but I'm sure if they had called the Ministry of Gender, we would have taken that course of action. So I want to urge everyone, if you know of a case, don't just publish in the newspaper. If that takes time, call 199 and report. Or call the Ministry of Gender and report. If you also call the network, we take action. Usually if you call UNFPA or any of the UN agencies, action will be taken. Publishing in the paper takes quite too long a time. Call any of us, we take action and make sure that the perpetrator is held and is taken to book. Thank you very much. Oh, prosecution. We see the issue of prosecution. I think during Ramos' presentation, she made a highlight on that. People withdraw cases from the police. And I have said that even with us, and we are bringing a lady here with her two children. I referred her here, and my staff went to her home and evacuated her and her children and brought her here. It took over a month. The case had gone up to the court. And I'm still angry with the lady. She went behind the church and we do the court. We do the case. So I said, declare to her, I said, you know what? If it happens again, it becomes a case for the government, not you. We make sure that the perpetrator is prosecuted. And one thing that we have done in our own case, because we work very closely with the police, and the police are also very angry that she had withdrawn the case. So the lady at the police station in Banjul is responsible. Also adamant that this case must continue with the court and the man has to be prosecuted. So one thing we have also done with the police is that sensitize the man, husband, very much, so that the case is not repeated. But be rest assured, now if a case is reported to the police, or reported here, or way to us, and we are able to lay hands on the victim and bring her here at the shelter, there is no way that the case is going to be withdrawn. And I said this in one of my TV programs, that now any case is reported becomes a case for the government, and we make sure the case are not withdrawn. We take legal action against the perpetrator and show examples to Gambians. Once that is done, I'm sure people will abide by the rules and regulations and make sure that they don't offend women and girls sexually, or physically, or psychologically, or socially, or in a form. Not especially it's the rape. And for rape, the problem is parents will clean up the girl, and there's very little evidence. And in my sensitization activities, I've been saying, don't clean the victim. Don't clean the victim. That's the evidence that we have. But if you clean the victim, you destroy the evidence. They don't only clean the victim, but they also wash the clothing that the victim was wearing. So in that case, having to get the evidence becomes very difficult. So I'm urging all and sundry. In the case of rape, don't clean the victim, don't wash any of her clothing, bring her over, and so that we are sure of getting the evidence and the right course of action to be taken against the perpetrators. Where cases of rape have been reported and the victims have not been cleaned, we have seen what happened to the perpetrators. So we are locked up for 15 years, 10 years, 14 years. So we are urging everyone, please, in the case of rape, don't clean the victim. Because if you don't clean the victim or wash her clothing, you understand the evidence. We know it's a serious crime, and we have seen, in fact, there was a school, I don't know where the school, in urban area, the teacher was here for 15 years. So something is being done. If you clean the victim or you wash the clothing, you destroy the evidence, and you make it difficult for us as government to take the right course of action. And the Ministry of Justice, they had already set up a gender unit. And then when I was with UNFPA in 2018, we are at the launching of the gender unit of the Ministry of Justice. So everybody is ready to take action against the perpetrators. So we urge all of you, we are this together, let's all work together, make sure that we bring the perpetrators to book. Thank you so much.
to ask how the network will engage government to ensure that cases are prosecuted. The network has been and shall continue to engage government institutions, especially the Ministry of Gender, the Ministry of Justice, and the Gambia Police Force. We have conducted a series of advocacy meetings with them and have been advocating for this special court because we strongly believe that when we have this special court, it's going to help us to ensure that we have successful prosecution as well as having um, the lab. Those are two important things, especially when it comes to rape that is affecting our prosecution. I will assure you that a lot of cases are being prosecuted. But because of we don't have a special court, the cases take a very, very long time, some of them 2, 3 years. And that is why it's difficult for you to just report them. But we can see even from news papers recently, FDM cases were prosecuted and the perpetrators were sentenced. We have also seen some rape cases that are successfully prosecuted and are reported and the perpetrators have been sentenced. So there are some that are done, but the advocacy continues because we know we need a special court to ensure that all the cases are successful. On the issue of um, the special need people that Ramo has indicated in her overview that the GMIS Center this time around tried to include issues of people with disabilities, and this is why we have this SMS. You can report through SMS. However, we talked about the other special people. The other special people, for instance, those who those who are visually impaired, probably can call, and also secondly, we are encouraging them through our sensitization and also advocacy program to ensure that all of them knows about gender-based violence. We often target them, especially to ensure that they are sensitized on sexual and gender-based violence, and also know the service providers as well as the reporting mechanism so that they can. Thank you.
Very much. Our partner from as you mentioned. I think it's important for us to remind everyone that we need to talk about positive. We are in a society where it's male dominated, it's very patriarchal. And in most of these cases, I'm sure if you spoke to the perpetrator, you would hear, woman should not talk to me like this, or she's my wife, I have the right to up, or something. So it started at a very young age. I think both UNFPA and UNICEF have a very strong program in positive masculinity, and also young girls pick up bodily autonomy and think of themselves as equal to any boy in their household. And we also then need to education program, whether it's out of school, to really work with male counterparts so that they understand the values of beating the women. It doesn't make you it doesn't make you powerful. Actually, I strongly believe that when a man beats women. So, in that sense, I agree with you. Education being a male doesn't make you
Thank you so much, Sar, Honorable Minister Ampalo. We'll take the second round of questions. If you could make it as precise as possible. Straight to the point, maybe not necessarily to give an analysis, but ask the question. The those you are addressing the question. Especially Aramai. You can go ahead. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aliba, working for Shawgambi, an organization that work on online and cyber security, online harassment. Is it a media house? No. Um, how to translate it? Is that Good afternoon. My name is Sharif Jacob from the Point newspaper. Okay, going by gender-based violence in Uganda, the culture of silence is hindering the reporting of GBV in the country. How do you engage local grassroots? Because the act is right happening in our communities, within our neighborhood. How do you want to partner with local communities, especially grassroots, for the minutes? Okay, the second question is, going by this chart, this split chart, I've seen some regions, but two regions I've not seen. Is it that there are no reported cases in those regions, or it is most prevalent in this region? I've not seen, not bad, but I've not seen. Thank you very much. Good afternoon to you all. This is Keba Alzumane, work for the Alcapa Times. I want to draw the attention of the Honorable Minister regarding the issue that has been raised by my colleague from Standard here, what has been reported by Malagan. First, I would like to put across that media, we are not prosecutors, but only report on matters that has been relayed to us through our various sources. And here, a matter involving minors has been reported by an investigative medium, the Malagan. So I would like to know, now that the Honorable Minister is aware of that case now, because he said she was not aware, now that she's aware, I would like her to tell us whether from here now the ministry will take action, to redress that issue and even bring the perpetrators to court. And my second point is like how my brother here from the point said, in rural areas, a lot of gender-based violences are going on, and they are reported probably due to different multiple factors. I would like to know whether they have any plans to embark on sensitization so that most of the people living in provinces can know that these cases now can be, taken over by government and can be done. Thank you. I am Tabora Bojang from the Standard newspaper. My question is to the Honorable Minister. As to what we've heard from all what has been said here, we understand that most of the cases would reach the police or the state level and they'll be withdrawn by families or people who are close to victims of these cases. And I want to believe that as a government, you've made laws to protect children in the Gambia. And when cases arrive at state level, whether the police or at the level of the ministry, as the minister said, and parents or family or whoever comes and withdraw the case, is that not in itself a failure on the side of the government to protect children in the Gambia who they take a vow and they made laws to protect? Because children who are not up to 18 or who are not up to the mental age, they don't have that ability to make informed decisions. So when cases occur against them and they cannot make an informed decision, and an elderly person come and make a decision on behalf of the child, where is the government in this case? It is the cases of gender-based violence. At this point, we just invite the UN President Coordinator AI, Dr. Desta Filuna, to deliver the closing remarks.
You should go back the yeah, no worries. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm coming in the last part of this, and I'll try to make it brief. First of all, I would like just to recognize the presence of Honorable Minister of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, Honorable Fatou Kinte, my colleagues from the UN system, UNFP representative, UNDP Deputy Resident Representative, the UNICEF representative ad interim, and my colleagues from the IITC, and also the UNICEF deputy representative, and all colleagues present here from the UN system, from government officials also, and CSOs. And I would like also to recognize the presence of the youth representatives, the media, who are actually the key players here in the propagating the information that we share today. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to be amongst you on behalf of the resident coordinator, the UN resident coordinator, who is on leave currently. And today we are reminded that gender-based violence remains an important issue in the Gambia. Due to culture of silence, as was highlighted by one of our media colleagues, the fear of reprisal or lack of what to do, gender-based violence cases are currently underreported. Even the cases that you see on the paper, that's the tip of the iceberg. There are many that are happening which we don't know. But it's a good start. At least we now see there's something happening. So people will be encouraged also to see the fruits of what has been reported. The lack of reliable data is hindering also the design of evidence-based programs and policies for effective gender-based violence interventions. And the inconsistent provision of quality and timely services is preventing the survivors also stories from being heard. Because if they don't receive the care that they are expecting after reporting, people will be discouraged. So in this regard, it's our duty to amplify those voices to ensure that they are heeded in the halls of decision making. The Gender Management Information System, or GMIS, as I learned recently, is one of the additional vocabulary that I got recently, which is a good one, is an innovative tool improving data collection on GBV cases in the country while promoting safe, confidential and convenient way of reporting cases and getting quality support. Since its creation in January 2023, GMIS Center has already meaningfully supported, as you have heard, 310 survivors from GBV across all operational one-stop centers. This data is encouraging. Nevertheless, the fight against gender-based violence must be constant, and the need to strengthen gender-based violence support remains vital. All effective initiatives such as the GMIS require financial sustainability and strong cooperation amongst all stakeholders to ensure a long-lasting positive impact. As you know, GMIS Center is a successful partnership between several UN agencies, UNFPA, UNDP, UNICEF, and ITC, the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Welfare, and the civil society organizations. However, we need to extend this collaboration by including more partners in the service delivery and fostering coordination to increase the number of GBV cases translated into GMI's portal, meaning capturing more data. We have a lot that's not captured yet. By fostering a coordinated and centralized system, the survivor support process will be better streamlined and more efficient. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to get involved, whatever you do, get involved, collaborate, and participate in all national efforts in eradicating gender-based violence. The journey ahead is challenging, but we are not alone. Together, the UN country team remains steadfast in uniting with partners while providing relevant support towards fighting against gender-based violence. Let's pledge our commitment and join our efforts, not just for today, which is a very beautiful event, but every day, to end the gender-based violence and create a society that is just for all Gambians. I thank you very much for your kind attention.